Right. Here we are again.
It
Here
was
we are again.
it was very quickly cut off. I wasn't expecting it so quick. I was quite enjoying that, and then just
That's what your girlfriend said every time.
she just wonders why it's so small and short.
What?
Don't worry about it, mate.
Okay. Funny man. So on today's podcast, Tom is going to lead it because I've had complaints that I speak too much,
You've had no complaints.
mostly from Tom.
You're. we're don't play games. We're just going to keep it the same because it's what our listeners know. It's what they love. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So
Are those notes, Tom? Do I see notes?
you could see notes. You might not. Just there might be scribbles.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So anyway, what have you been up to? It's Sunday, the 19th
19.
of
Yeah.
August. What have you been up to, Tommy?
Just enjoying another lovely weekend in sunny Devon, watching the football, reading.
What is there an interesting fact about Devon?
Is there an interesting fact about Devon?
Yeah, because our listeners might not know anything about Devon.
Okay. I'm sure there's plenty. I'm pretty sure. I think Exeter might once have been a capital city of some sorts. Once upon a time.
That's good to know. Anyway, so nothing interesting.
It's an old Roman city. It used to be called Exeter. And actually, the interesting fact is their irrigation, so their waterworks. The king came to visit one time, and they made all of it run. So they turned all the water off, and they made all the streets run red with wine in honor of him coming. So
that's a lot of wine. The king? Which king?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Was it a king or was it a Caesar?
It wasn't a Caesar. It was a king.
Okay. Just checking. Since you mentioned the Romans.
The Romans, yes, when it was Exeter. Anyway, boom, shoot. Go.
So, good. Wow.
What have you been up to?
Up to you, mate. I've had my friend over who I was at uni with.
Me?
University. Uni's university in England. That's our vernacular. George is his name. Hi, George.
George what?
Probably best not to give surnames without their permission.
Did I ever meet him?
I don't think you have. No, you haven't. I don't think you did. It was after you left. After you gave up.
Well, just changed universities, mate.
Gave up.
Didn't give up. Gave up on you. You made me move. Anyway.
Exactly. Gave up on our relationship.
So, go on. What are we doing today's episode on, mate?
Well, I don't know. I thought we'd just go and see what happens.
Okay.
So, anyway, what's troubling you at the moment? Have you done anything interesting lately?
I'm always doing interesting things, mate. I'm a man of mystery, and I like to keep clandestine in what I do.
Right. Okay. So you've done nothing interesting. That's fine.
Yeah.
You said you mentioned you were watching football.
Yes.
Now, for our listeners who don't really know which football you mean, what kind of football have you been watching? And who's your favourite team?
I've been watching the Premier League, and my favourite team is Tottenham. And I know that you're a big Chelsea fan.
I am, yes. Yeah, we've started fairly well.
Yeah.
We've started fairly well. And obviously one of your own broke the duck. The August duck.
Yes. Probably not what our listeners want to listen to, though, is it?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what they want to listen to. None of them ever talk to us.
Yeah, I know.
So,
lazy.
Come on. Right. So, well, what about yourself? What do you want to talk about?
Well, I thought it might be quite interesting to talk about environmental issues. So, talk about, the big one, the plastic in the oceans. But I thought it might also be fun to talk about electric cars and where you see those going. Because I've spoken to a few people and I get a lot of mixed reviews from people. So I thought it might be interesting to see your thoughts on them.
Oh, okay.
You're
Sure.
a petrol head.
Yes, I'm a massive petrol head. All I think about is petrol.
And head.
Well, let's not. So, okay, kick us off then. What's the first one?
Let's talk about electric cars. Let's talk about them.
Ooh, okay.
So What are your thoughts on them? Do you like them?
I do like them. I think it is the future. I think that's where the world is heading. I think, with given that today's world is filled with noxious gases being released into the atmosphere,
Hmm.
I think it's about time that we thought of alternative fuels for cars. Alternative fuels for cars, and I think electricity is a good way of doing it.
Right. I mean, people have tried it in the past. I don't know if you remember the Honda solar car. Do you remember when that was advertised?
Yeah, yeah.
That
But
was
I think it's
and hydrogen cars they tried as well.
yeah. I think it's slightly different though, because the solar car obviously couldn't really work in places like the Nordics and the Scandinavian countries where there are a lot of days without any sunshine.
Hmm.
Equally, it relies on sun and it looks weird. So
Driving a solar panel.
I think that's possibly where it's going. But I
Yeah.
think the way that they modeled the prototype might have been a bit too early for it's a bit like I think what's interesting is what Apple is doing with technology, which is they create the phone, but they're also slowly getting the phone into your body. So they got the watch. We can send and receive calls now independently of your phone.
Hmm.
Um, Google tried it with glasses, but I think it's a bit of a jarring situation where you have transition is very quick, whereas I think human nature needs to adapt to slowly adapt to new technologies. And I think the eventuality is that we will have them on our person, either as a lens. I always envision it as a lens which projects um, augmented reality onto in front of you.
Hmm.
Um, so I think it's moving that way, but I think it's got to be slow, and it's the same for the cars, where eventually there will be solar panel cars, I think.
Hmm.
But the way to do it is the way that Tesla's doing it, which is create a car that looks good, looks like a normal car, but just runs on electricity.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear some stats, Tom, on
Yes.
electric cars in the
I love a
UK?
good stat. Go on.
So there's approximately 166,000 plug-in cars registered in the UK up to August 2018, which is quite a lot of cars, which is good.
Yeah.
5,500 plug-in vans, approximately. 77 plug-in models are available, plus variants,
Hmm.
on the UK market. And there are 17,500 UK charge ports
Wow.
or charging points, according to Zap Map.
Right. That's pretty cool.
So I think, look, I think, if you take us 10 years ago, when Tesla was still out, I'm not sure if people remember Tesla. The first Tesla Roadster was the first electric car. Do you remember Tesla Roadster?
I do. Yeah. Yeah.
It looked a bit strange, but it was fairly cool, I suppose. But it was slightly inefficient, and it was a brave new world. It was a brand new tech, brand new car. People sort of had to check it out before but it proved the concept, and that's the main thing. What's your view on hybrids and
I think I like them. I'm a big fan. I think I think it's really important that they go through this phase where they mass produce them and get them into the public eye
Mhm.
and make them fun. I've had a few debates with people. I had a bit of a Facebook war with someone. They were basically saying, if you get an electric car, you don't use the fossil fuels to drive them, but you still use fossil fuels to mine the metals and whatever that you need for the batteries, and you still use the fossil fuels and the coal, in the power stations to charge your car. And they were basically saying, what's the point? Um,
Mhm.
and my argument was, it still gets emissions off the road,
Mhm.
because the power stations are still going, people are still mining. but you're taking emissions off the road. So out of those three things, you're taking a third of the well, one third of the problem out of the equation.
Hmm.
So surely that's a good thing. Any cut of emission is a win. Um, and why wouldn't you do it? It doesn't make sense to me. And eventually, it turned out that this person was they were petrol heads. These people like renovating old cars and racing them and stuff. So it was a biased view. Um, and I was a bit taken aback really because I thought, you know, it's all well and good to have hobbies, and even if it's your job, you're not going to be out of a job in 10 years' time because it's not just going to be electric cars everywhere. It's going to take longer than that for them to reach a point where poor people like me can afford one. Um, but I thought, just thought it was a bit ignorant. And people say, oh, the batteries aren't very good, and what's the point in buying one because your miles per gallon or whatever it goes down, and you can't get very far on a charge. And I thought, well, all right, fair enough, but you've got to start somewhere. The original car wasn't very good. You probably got about 1 mile per gallon before you needed to fucking throw some more coal in the oven and give it a good turnover. Um, I thought some of the feedback that I've heard from people, it was just really negative, and they expecting results immediately rather than realizing that things need to go into the mainstream, problems need to be found in order for them to be solved and to make it more efficient.
Yeah, I think overall the net effect is positive, isn't it?
Yeah,
Um, I'm pretty sure that as you said, when the first car came out, I'm pretty sure people still were a bit untrusting of the technology. I can imagine that they wanted to, well, they couldn't afford it, a lot of them,
yeah,
because I can imagine it was very expensive because the economies of scale wasn't there.
yeah,
So it takes time. It takes time for these things to permeate um, into the into the general populace. But I think our generation is going to be much more accepting of electric cars. And yeah, I was thinking about buying a car not so long ago,
hmm
and I was thinking, well, do I go for something like a VW Golf, a Volkswagen Golf,
hmm
or do I buy a Tesla Roadster, a Tesla Model 3? And the benefit of buying an electric car is you don't pay tax,
hmm
you don't pay for fuel, the actual um, charging of the car is much less. So I think after half an hour for a brand new Tesla, you get 150 miles,
It's pretty good.
and it costs something like £5.
Yeah,
Now to get 150 miles out of a fuel, I don't know how much you'd need, 20, 30 liters,
I mean something like that. Yeah,
and that
it's a
would
lot.
cost you 20, 30 quid ish,
Yeah,
between 20 or 40 pounds, depending on how much you put in. So it's much more economic in that sense. My only drawback with that is the technology. Given that if you believe in Moore's law and a transistor is it the size of the transistor halves every year?
hmm
Um, Technology will move so fast that in 2 years' time, the tech that's in my car will be made redundant, or maybe unworkable.
yeah.
So I don't know. What about you? Would you consider buying one now if it was affordable? And what do you define as affordable?
Yeah, I would definitely. What do I define as affordable? 300 quid. I mean, I don't have masses of money, but I would happily spend the money because it's going to pay for itself. Because I spend money on fuel and um, car tax, road tax and whatever. So I think it pays itself off. If I could afford one right now, I would buy one, just to make a bit of a difference.
Would
Um,
you would you buy one second hand, or would you have to? Do you think you'd go for brand new?
I'd buy one second hand if it was good. You know what I mean? You'd still go and do the man thing, kick the front tire. That's a quick MOT. That is, give it a quick kick. Done. That's all right. That works. Um,
Mm,
No,
yeah.
no, no. I would. I mean, obviously, if I could test it, if I had a way of realizing that it didn't have some, I don't know what electric cars suffer with. So I don't know, maybe it had a faulty battery or something. I mean, I'd have to make sure that it works and it's feasible to buy it. But I mean, it's a risk buying a second-hand car from
Anyway.
anyone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's the difference? Of course, I would buy it second-hand. Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
would you not buy a second-hand one?
No, I would. I would. I don't know why, but there seems to be this
Stigma.
yeah, perhaps the of electric cars, because I think it's such an unknown technology. It's a bit like vaping. It hasn't been tested so much excessively as cars have been. So you don't, there are certain golden rules in cars that you'd look out for. You sort of have no idea because you'd have to uncover the whole of the bottom, the floor of the car, because that's where the battery is. So it's not as easy to open up the engine and have a look. You have to really go inside and have it commit an intrusive survey.
Yeah,
But I'm sure that you can take it to a Tesla garage,
yeah.
and they will be able to give you a one, plug it into their analyzers or whatever it is, and have a look for you.
I
So
mean,
it's
they do that nowadays. Do you know what I mean? I was speaking
mm,
to my old man about his car, and he said to me, he knows a fair bit about cars, but he said to me, because his car is quite advanced, he was like,
hmm
I don't even know where the battery is. Open up the engine bay, I don't even know where the battery is. You can't see it.
hmm
I think, even with cars with engines, because the ECU on them is so advanced, you don't even need to look under the engine anymore. You just plug the fucker in and it'll tell you what's wrong and what needs fixing. Um, so
yeah. I think
it's
I
no
think
different.
I think at the moment the cars that you have on the road, especially the most famous hybrids like the Toyota, what's it called? Toyota,
Prius.
yeah, the Prius, for example. They sort of a bit more acceptable because they blend the electric with the fuel.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think people, so if your battery fails, that's fine because you can still use the fuel bit.
And you're still cutting down on emissions.
Yeah, yeah, true, true. So here's a question to you then: Would you go for the hybrid, or would you go for fully electrical?
I think I would have to look at the stats. I mean, I don't do that much long distance driving, so
Yeah,
I would just go for whichever was more affordable. Because
yeah,
if I've got the hybrid, then fine, I can chuck 20 quid of fuel in it. It might last me a month.
yeah.
So doesn't make a difference to me. But here's so I was talking to my girlfriend about it earlier, and she said,
Sorry.
"You're forgiven. Mute yourself next time, yeah." She said, one of the main things with a health and safety point of view, if you're out and about,
hmm
is you can't hear the fucking things. So, you know, I mean, you could, like um, blind people, for example, or deaf people, if they've got a CNI dog or a guide dog, um, the dog will rely on hearing the car rather than seeing it because obviously dogs' vision isn't that great.
Interesting.
So there is. I mean, do you think they should make noise, like have a speaker on it that emits some sort of rudimentary engine noise?
Possibly, possibly. I mean, uh,
I mean, they could have sensors on them. Do you know what I mean? So if it senses something within 20 feet
yeah,
of it, all
yeah.
of a sudden an engine noise pop, beeps up.
I mean, let me answer a couple of the points that you've made. Oh, thanks for spitting. Let me answer a couple of points that you've made. So you started off with long range driving.
Hmm.
Now, given that the UK isn't that large, it makes sense to get an electric car because there are hundreds of thousands of these electric charging points, and I just looked in Manchester and even in Devon, for example, there's a load.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, you see them all over in
yeah, yeah.
service stations and stuff. There's Tesla ones.
Yeah, and actually, that what they've done now is the UK government, I think, has or is going to make it a law that you have to have an electric charging point for every development, at least one.
Cool. Hmm.
So I think we're progressive in that sense, and
Yeah.
again, because the UK isn't that large, actually going 150 miles, having a range of 200 miles, there's very rarely that you would go for any more than that,
Hmm.
and you'd probably charge it more than you think you would. So it's do I fear, like, how many times, if I liken it to having an iPhone, how many times have I been without charge? Not many. And if I
Okay.
have, then it wasn't actually that bad because there's always a charging point somewhere.
Hmm.
Now, given that there are so many charging points, it means also that if you're going somewhere on a long range um, driving trip, you can always just park up and charge yourself at any station where they refuel cars as well.
Hmm.
So for me, I think that's not such a huge issue for the UK. I think your second point on hearing and them emitting a noise, it is sort of an issue, but I think, as you said, what they could develop is a sensor whereby if you have people near you, it could emit a low hum of an engine
Hmm.
or something like that. But I actually quite like the fact that it's completely soundless,
Yeah.
completely quiet, because then if you live in a busy city and your flat is just by a main road, it means you won't hear rude boys going around with their exhaust with a hole pushed through. You know,
Yeah. You might
so
though, because they might not be able to afford an electric car.
yeah. I mean, are you following Tesla at all? Are you a big Tesla fan?
I am a Tesla fan. I don't follow him. I don't follow them religiously, but I do. I do check them out.
Yeah. Do you see what's happening with Tesla at the moment? I think Elon Musk is going through a bit of an issue at the moment.
What, with the marijuana?
Yeah, apparently, and also he said something. Well, obviously that tanked the share price. He said something like, "This was one of the hardest years of my life, and the worst is yet to come." And that brought a load of issues to his share price as well. Because I think he's meant to be producing 5,000 Model 3s a week to meet all
Right.
the demand that's been pent up. Um, and apparently he's been sleep because they're not meeting that target yet. He's been sleeping in the factory where they make them in Fremont, California. Um, and it's obviously to the detriment of his family because he doesn't see them because he's so focused on this Tesla project. Um,
Right.
I mean, fair enough. The guy believes in what he wants to do, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
he's doing everything.
He's making sacrifices. Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
But I think overall,
I can only commend him for it. The guy. He seems to be sort of single-handedly pioneering in so many different ways. Do you know what I mean? Like
hmm,
with the SpaceX program and
PayPal
the
originally.
yeah.
So he was
But I
he
mean,
was one of the founding members.
the guy is a genius. I don't think there's only two ways about it. It might be a bit controversial sometimes, but who isn't? He's a bit eccentric, sure, but what he's doing is groundbreaking. Like look at his rockets that land themselves.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? That is fucking sci-fi. He's like our own Iron Man. Um, the guy, he's awesome. There's
he
no
is.
there's no two ways about it.
He is, and I would love Elon, if you're listening to our podcast, we'd
Mhm.
love to have you on. We'd love to have you on.
For all 12 of our listeners.
Well, mate, he's why not? Um, have you seen? Talking of Tesla cars, have you seen the Roadster, the new Roadster that they're promising to deliver by, I think it's 2020?
No, I haven't.
So their acceleration 0 to 60, guess how much? Yes,
2.3 seconds.
1.9 seconds.
Boom.
Under 2 seconds, not to 60.
I mean, that's quick. That's quick.
That's quicker than any stock production car in the world, I think.
That's incredible.
Um,
I've driven an electric van.
oh, have you?
Um, yeah, I drove one. It's my friend's. It's a company car. I won't say what friend or what company. But
Wow.
he lives like in the middle of nowhere, and he was like, "Oh, Tom, should we have a go in the electric van? Because I want to show you what it's like." So he was like, "Jump in." And the place where we were was deserted, and he said, right, he fiddled with some buttons, and he was like, right, put your foot down, hard as you can, go. So I did it, and fucking hell, I mean, the thing, it was rapid. I mean, I was pushed to the back of the seat. I was not expecting it. It was great,
Wow.
and I was shocked. And like you said, not a sound came out of it. Do you know what I mean? And it was quicker than his BMW, and it's a
Wow.
van. It was a beast. I was shocked.
But it's quick but not fast. Is that right? Is that right in understanding? So it's
Yeah,
it's
I
quick
mean,
off the
obviously,
lights.
yeah, well, it's quick off the lights and it can maintain speed, but it's not. You can't redline it. Do you know what I mean? You can't maintain high speeds. And why would you want to? Because it defeats the purpose of having an electric car.
Yeah.
So, um, you know,
Have you been in a Tesla before?
I've sat in one. I've never driven one. I was in Stanford in California. I was walking around a mall, and they had like a Tesla showroom in the mall, and I went and sat in the Roadster, and it was a beautiful bit of kit. Really wanted one. It's my ambition to buy one.
Yeah, yeah. I had a client who had one, and he took me on a drive in his Tesla, and boy, it's incredible.
Yeah,
Just that massive screen in the middle of the dash,
yeah,
which
yeah, yeah,
controls everything, and the way that it
yeah,
was driving, and the acceleration,
yeah.
and the
So
noiseless effect, it was amazing.
yeah, so talking about that screen, you've just made me think of another point: self-driving cars. Because
Oh
I
yeah.
know in America there's been quite a few crashes, and the point. Well, one of the issues is who do you blame? But I want to know who needs a self-driving car, because I remember hearing a story quite a few years ago of a guy. He bought an RV, recreational vehicle, a big one in America, like a Winnebago or something. It might not be Winnebago, but it was a beast. Do you know what I mean? And he saw. Um, I think it was like autopilot, but it was cruise control. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he popped it onto this autopilot in quotation marks, and he went into the back to go and make himself a coffee, and it crashed, and it crashed, and he killed someone. I think he killed someone, but he sued the company and won because it didn't specify in the manual that this vehicle won't drive itself.
I liken this to the same thing as a label on the bleach saying "Don't drink."
Yeah,
If you're idiotic enough to think that you can buy a car now that is fully automated driving, I think you're an idiot. I think even with a Tesla, it tells you please keep your hands on the steering wheel. It
yeah,
prompts you to do that. I think it rings a bell or something.
yeah,
So, given that technology isn't that advanced, it's advanced. Don't get me wrong. It can keep you in your lane. If you indicate left or right, it moves you to the lane depending if the car's there or not.
yeah,
Other cars, that is. So it's sophisticated, but it's not so sophisticated that it completely. But then America's a slightly different beast in terms of litigation. It's a very litigious country. There was a famous case of I think it's a guy or a girl, like a fat guy or a girl, obese, suing McDonald's for making her or him fat.
I mean, for fuck's sake,
You know,
what are you thinking?
um,
Oh,
yeah,
Dimitri's just Googling this.
yeah, I
So
am, I am. So fat teens sue McDonald's. Yeah, there we go.
it's mental. But I mean, that just shows you it's a fickle world. And, people, I mean, I know in England, does that count as negligence? Because I know that negligence in this country came from Donahue versus Donahue.
Oh,
Um, So someone bought, I think it was
It was a ginger
ginger
beer.
ginger beer, and there was a snail in it, wasn't there? And they breached duty of care and negligence.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was the first negligence case. But I mean, the clue is in the fucking title, isn't it? Fast food. It's not going to be good for you, is it?
Okay, so just a bit about the story. Um, the plaintiffs are girls. One
Right.
girl is 5'9", so about meter 76, 77,
Yeah.
and she weighs 270 pounds or 122 and a half kilos.
I weigh 100 kilos. I'm 6'1". I mean, she weighs more than double me,
I
and I'm
mean,
a
that's
beast.
ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
That's
But,
mental.
but
How tall? 5'1".
5'9", 5'9".
Oh, five. I
But
mean,
one
fucking
of the girls is
Christ.
5'3" and weighs 200 pounds.
Oh, that's mental.
5'3". I mean,
That is mental. If
that's.
I saw it on a beach, I'd think it was a fucking seal.
I mean, that's pretty streamlined. Let's face it.
I mean, they look good at £200. I bet she didn't.
But it's interesting because they could win.
Oh, was that fat shaming? I don't
Probably,
know.
probably, mate, probably.
Give a fuck though, to be honest.
Look, I think people there are some people with genuine issues with their health, which means that they get they put on weight or they
Yeah,
can't control their eating habits. Fine, but if you're
yeah.
suing McDonald's for eating there every day for the last 20 years, I don't have any. I don't have any.
I mean, if you're worried about putting weight on at eating at KFC or McDonald's, who are getting advertising here right now for free, um, just go and watch Supersize Me. Go and watch that. See how he looks after a little while of the McDonald's diet. That it's a good diet. Why not do it? Oh, because it will give you about 4 different diseases all at once.
Well, his liver expanded, didn't it?
His liver expanded. It got covered in a layer of fat. He got diabetes. Um,
Did he get diabetes after doing it?
I'm pretty sure.
Ooh.
I'm pretty sure he did. I mean, that may not be a fact, so don't quote me on it. But I'm pretty sure he fucked himself up.
And that was
Um,
after a week, wasn't it?
that was, he might not have got diabetes after a week, but he did. He got some serious stuff, and it wasn't good. He fucked his own health up for a long time.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
look, we all enjoy a kebab, a McDonald's, a KFC once in a while.
yeah, a bit of a fuck it treat.
But at the same time, we then eat normally. I wouldn't make it
Yeah.
part of my everyday diet, put it that way.
So let's pop back to the point at hand. So self-driving car, pointless.
Yes, yeah.
What do you think? Should they be marketed? Should that be on the marketing page as, are you too fucking lazy to drive? Are you going somewhere but don't have anyone to drive you? Don't worry, your fucking car will for you. And then a little asterisk, may crash.
I think, personally, I think.
I mean, there was that. Sorry to interrupt, but I
That's all
just
right, mate.
thought there was that video of a woman driving at night, and I say driving, a woman in the driver's seat, not driving because the car was doing it
Oh, and
for her.
sleeping, wasn't she, or something?
Was she sleeping and she hit someone and killed them on a bike?
You're talking about Caitlyn Jenner?
No, I'm not
Oh,
talking about
no.
Caitlyn Jenner. Bruce. Um,
No, I didn't hear that. But there's loads of different stories about people testing out the self-driving feature in a Tesla and then crashing for whatever
yeah.
reason.
I mean, so what do you think? Do you think that they should be marketed, and do you think that technology on roads where, if you're in an automated vehicle, you're probably the only one on that stretch of road? So
I think personally, I think in order to allow um to idiot proof it, I think self-driving cars or self-driving abilities in a car should be switched off as soon as they get into a city.
yeah,
So it should, because they all have GPS navigation, they all have trackers, so they should be able to switch it off as soon as they sense that they're in a city.
yeah,
And secondly, I think they should only be enabled if you're on a long stretch of straight motorway.
Yeah,
So, and I think then you get rid of, and then you introduce it slowly. You slowly introduce it into cities and into windy roads when the technology gets there. Because the
yeah,
one thing that you can't account for as a automated car is human error, and there will be other
yeah,
humans on the road that will not be using it correctly,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it doesn't have
And
the reaction time.
malfunctions.
Yeah, yeah, true, exactly. So I think there's we're a long way off. I think 5 to 10 years off until a car is fully automated, and until there's
So
traction in other people buying automated cars, so they can communicate with each other, understand where each
yeah,
other is, and then be
yeah,
able
yeah.
to move.
I mean, I think Toyota were pioneers in this division because they tried to make um, cars that operated like fish in a shoal. So a shoal of fish, they're all swimming along happy as Larry, but none of them bump into each other. So I think they tried to they implemented the software into robots or something, and I think it wasn't that successful. Um, so I know that they've tried to do that on cars, but I mean, what would that mean? Would that mean cars like driving all over the place on a road like a fucking shoal of fish? Not too sure. Um, but I mean, it probably will have a place somewhere in the future. Um, and okay, perhaps the technology needs advancing now. Well, it certainly needs being put into implementation now. But I mean, it certainly shouldn't be on the roads. No way. It shouldn't be on the roads right now.
No, I don't think they've done enough testing. To be
No,
honest
that's
with you,
that's what I mean.
yeah.
That's, they've not done enough testing, and there's there's just too much that can go wrong. And where does the blame lie?
Well,
You know what
this
I
is
mean? If
it.
you hurt someone, where does the blame lie?
This is it. Yeah, I mean, well, in the UK, they're testing automated. Is it automated cars or buses? But they're testing like these
Buses, I think.
pods which self-drive in Milton Keynes. And for
Right?
those people who don't know what Milton Keynes is like, I'm not sure I'm wrong in saying that it's one of the newest cities,
It's got one of the worst roundabouts.
but it's laid out in a very grid-like manner. So there are
Right?
very few winding roads because of England's age in terms of the towns around it and within it.
Yeah.
There are loads of winding roads and roads which are narrowing and expanding. So it's very difficult to program a self-driving car in there.
Yeah.
Whereas Milton Keynes is always it's almost perfect for it because they can set a grid and say, right, once you reach this corner, you can go left at 90 degrees and or right at 90 degrees. So it's kind of a good way to test it. And obviously, they're testing in the States. I think Apple are going to get on it. I think Tesla, obviously, Ford, Toyota, they're all looking at self-driving technology.
Google are on it.
Yeah, true, true, true.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I just I self-driving car. I mean, like I said, maybe in the future, but for now, if you can't be asked to drive, hire a driver. If you want to be in your own fucking car, hire a driver. If you're that fucking lazy and you can't be asked to drive, or fancy a nap, pull over.
Yeah, I think it's
I
irresponsible.
have to
I do think
say,
it's irresponsible.
if it was me, right, if it was me, I would never feel comfortable enough to think, oh, quiet, isn't it? I'll have a quick nap. Yeah. Yeah, why not? I'll have a quick nap. Just 10 minutes, refresh myself, because I'm sat here doing fuck all. Um, so, yeah, um, I just think if you're going to be that fucking ignorant and negligent, then you probably shouldn't have an electric car. Should be on the questionnaire. Are you anticipating driving but not driving?
Yeah, I
Um,
think I think people get let off by the justice system too much by saying that, well, they shouldn't have put autopilot in it. Yeah,
yeah, it's like a get out clause.
yeah, it is because I buy a lot of products and I don't think, oh, I wonder what this tastes like, and try and eat it. I don't eat my deodorant
Yeah,
because I can.
But
And
people
they
do
don't.
eat
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. But that's
people eat detergent, don't
yeah,
they?
but
The
that's
Tide chocolate
yeah, but that's natural selection, I think. So it's fine.
evolution, or devolution.
What about what are your thoughts on the overall artificial intelligence?
Um, I think we've spoken about this before, haven't we? Um, I think I think I'm too primitive in my mind to have any real say on it. I don't know enough about it. I think it will probably happen, and I think the world will end up like Terminator.
Really? So you think Skynet will rise?
I think I think Skynet will rise, but it will be called Google instead. Um, I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe Fabio
Maybe.
can explain it to us if he comes onto the if he comes onto the
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah. Our famous follower Fabio Moioli. So, uh, buonasera.
I think AI is. I do think it's a good thing when used correctly. I think the issue with artificial intelligence is a lot of these people in Google and a lot of these. I've got a few friends or acquaintances who are in the tech world who are developing artificial intelligence. They work for Google Mind, DeepMind, I think it's called, and
Yeah,
they're working for Microsoft and they work for Apple. And their sole purpose for developing artificial intelligence is for good outcomes.
hmm,
Alleviate people's work, alleviate waste, improve productivity, all that kind of stuff. The issue for me is if evil bastards get hold of or develop artificial intelligence and then use it for nefarious means. And that's when
yeah,
it can get really bad because you can program. I think there are definitely two reasons why AI can be dangerous. It's either programmed to do something devastating,
hmm,
or it can be programmed to do something beneficial, but it develops a destructive method for achieving its goals. So I think we've just obviously the first one's pretty obvious, autonomous weapons, um, that kind of stuff. But the second one is quite interesting because I think if you developed AI to say, can you please analyze what we can do to save the world or to improve the world, I think a lot of the time the AI would come to a conclusion that we need to get rid of humanity.
yeah,
Don't you think?
yeah, yeah. I think. I mean, I think you're right, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a person who um, makes it be evil. I mean, there was that. I think it was Facebook. Someone developed um, two software platforms that could talk to each other, and they were testing it and seeing what it was like with language. And they soon obviously got to grips with English, and then they started making English more efficient. So they started speaking um, their own form of English, and then they developed their own language, and no one knew what they were saying to each other. I mean, it could have been these fucking humans. They haven't got a clue, mate. Shall we find launch codes? I mean, who knows what they were saying? It's quite scary, and I think it's delving into the unknown, and maybe a little bit playing with fire. Not understanding the full capability of something that has unlimited access to the internet. Basically, just making Ultron.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the times, if you have okay, imagine artificial intelligence was looking at you as a person and deciding whether to sell you a burger or not. And you give it binary information such as if a person is this, you step on a platform, it measures your body weight, your body fat, and it says, okay, if your body fat is above 20%, we're not going to sell you burgers. I think you'll see a lot of skinny people.
Yep.
Um,
Or just make the door smaller.
Yeah, exactly,
That's cheaper.
exactly. But
Oh, you want to get to the chocolate aisle? Okay, sir. Squeeze through this gap.
um, but I do think that
Just out of reach as well. Just out of reach.
famous Ricky Gervais sketch there. Um,
Was it?
yeah, but I do think overall artificial intelligence is great because it can work, unlike humans, it can work 24 hours a day. It can look
And not
for
complain about pay or want to be on benefits.
touchy subject, is it?
Won't be fat either,
But it
probably.
but it can, it will, imagine if you're trying to solve, or imagine if you're trying to model um, a combination of chemicals to create a drug against cancer, to cure cancer. It can do that X number of times quicker than a human can. It can run these models every day, all day for 365 days. So there's definitely some very, very positive um, attributes to artificial intelligence, which I think will inevitably be developed by people, by scientists, and by programmers. But for me, it is worrying that a lot of very prominent technologists, such as Elon Musk, and scientists such was Stephen Hawking, saying that actually artificial intelligence is a dangerous path to tread on.
I'd agree.
If they're worried about it, then I think it's worth having a look.
Yep.
It is worth having a look. Anyway, going slightly away from that, because I think Fabio, if you're listening, come onto our podcast and maybe you can explain to us a bit more about artificial intelligence. I need to
Yep.
read up on it. I think you need to read up on it. I think it's.
Goes without saying.
I think we'll or we can ask if anyone's listening who is au
Has
fait with
any sort of
artificial
knowledge on
intelligence.
this subject.
Yeah,
I
do
think
let us know.
be the first one ever to send us a fucking email
um,
other than Twitter and spam.
what
Getting a
what
bit sick of it.
what else? what else are you? What else did you want to discuss today? Because you have chosen a topic, and I want you to present it.
I thought it would be interesting just to talk about pollution in the environment.
Yeah.
So plastic in the oceans. I know we had a quick chat. We had a quick power meeting before going live, and we talked about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. So, in your most caramelic voice, tell us, what is the Great Garbage Patch?
I think you should tell me.
Well, I mean, you just ruined the whole thing there, haven't you? I wanted you to sound sumptuous and beautiful then,
I
like David Attenborough. That was your moment.
Go ahead, Tommy. Bring it on.
Well, okay, so quoting from a website, theoceancleanup.com, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, or the GPGP, which is referred to as, is the largest of the five offshore plastic accumulation zones in the world's oceans, and located halfway between Hawaii and California. I've flown to Hawaii twice, and I didn't see it, so it can't be that big.
It's the size of 3 Frances, but okay, keep going.
No, obviously that was a joke, but I mean that's scary. How big
Mm.
that is, and that is heartbreaking. How big it is, and the fact that it's one of five, and it's estimated to be between 1.1 and 2.4 million tons. Do you know what I mean? I mean that's just staggering and mind-boggling in itself. Thoughts?
It's a big fucking issue, mate. And I think a lot of the time the issue
Well,
comes with economic growth.
it's a five France issue.
I think the issue is that a lot of countries who don't have such stringent controls on pollution, and especially dumping waste into rivers and oceans, I think they have a lot to actually answer for. And we've fortunately reached that stage where we are economically secure enough to start think of things like um, um, social responsibility, such as recycling and not being, being fined for releasing pollution into the atmosphere. I think it's only a good thing. But obviously, other countries are not quite there yet, and which is why we've got these five islands of
Yeah.
1.14 to 2.41 million tons of plastic. But that's just entering the ocean a year from rivers, which is, I think, is staggering. It's 1.6 million square kilometers. Well, that's just the Great Pacific garbage patch. That's not. There's nothing to do with the other four. Um,
Yeah.
anyway, so the reason why I referred you to the ocean cleanup, Tommy, is
Hmm.
because it's run by a young guy. I believe he's a British guy called Boyan Salat. Obviously, very English.
Yeah.
He's 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 incredible. So he founded the Ocean Cleanup at the age of 18 in 2013.
Hmm.
So yeah, that makes him 23 at the moment. Um, and he's really concerned about plastic in the oceans. Obviously, we see the effect. It's not just the fact that there's lots of plastic in the ocean, but that has also side effects to on the marine life as well, doesn't it? Which is your area of expertise, really.
Hmm. If you say so. Um, I wasn't listening. I was too busy reading.
Good, good for you.
So, just so you know, I was just reading on the website, and it's actually three Frances, not five. So,
Yeah, that's what it said, though.
wow, it's not.
Well, it did. It said 1.6 million square kilometers, the equivalent of three Frances.
You said five.
I said three. You said five.
Okay.
Either way. But it's a massive issue, and it needs to
It
be
is.
resolved. And I'm glad that
Yeah.
there's non-profit organizations like the Ocean Cleanup
Yeah.
who are going to. Their plan is to capture all this loose plastic, and
And do
and
what with it exactly?
so they're going to melt it down and convert it into consumer products that they will sell to the public.
Okay.
And the proceeds from that will go towards refinancing more projects to do with cleaning up the
So
ocean.
is that just? I mean, I'm just wondering. So what are they aiming to develop it back into? Because that just sounds like recirculation.
It
I
is,
know
but
it's better. I agree, it's better than it being in the ocean. I'm just wondering um, how it's going to work. Because a lot of it is single-use plastics, and what about things like balloons and perished carrier bags and stuff like that?
yeah. Look, I think obviously something is better than nothing. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah, no, no, for sure. I mean, there are other companies out there. I think there's a company called Four Ocean, and I think they started as a couple of surfers, and they were, on their local beaches, and they didn't like all of the waste that was there, so they started collecting it. And this is glass as well, and they make bracelets out of it, and then you buy the bracelet. So the aim is that each bracelet represents 1 pound of waste that you've helped remove. I think it's
mhm,
something like $20 per bracelet, and they do
mhm,
themed ones for like Shark Month and Breast Cancer Month, and all this, that, and the other. So they make variations of them that are limited edition,
mhm,
which is cool. I mean, that's turning it into something that's not single use. Do you know what I mean? So there are people out there that are doing great things, um, but I mean, it's almost a thankless task, isn't it? Because there's so much of it, and it makes you feel bad because you know that you've in some way, shape, or form, 10, 15 years ago, when you didn't realize it was a problem and you cleaned your ears and then you threw it down the toilet or something, as a child might do, you feel bad and you feel a sense of guilt. But I know that a lot of people will still probably sit there and do fuck all. Because I mean, I was in town today and I witnessed people throwing shit on the floor or throwing it into the harbour, throwing their fag butts away. And you're just like, oh, fuck, that you ignorant cunt. Bin right next to you.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I don't understand why you need to throw stuff on the floor when it's right next to you. When a bin is right next to you, I just
Yeah,
don't get it. But on the thankless task bit, I think people will realize it, and I think I the tide is turning on single-use plastics because things like straws are being banned in a lot of places. Not banned, but electively banned. A
yeah.
lot of bars don't serve them. I think Landmark is McDonald's has said that they will start to issue paper
I mean,
straws.
yeah. I mean, there's things with this though, isn't there? I mean, you look at Starbucks, and they what was the picture that was circulated on social media? It was something like they removed straws, but then they put something really menial into plastic bags. Do you know what I mean? I can't think of what it was now.
But look, I mean, something is better than nothing, and I think the fact that these companies are looking at whether for profit or for notoriety or fame, they're still doing some, or for attention, they're still doing something which is positive.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
th-
really, I don't really care what they do it for, as long as they do it.
yeah,
If they
I
do it to
think
raise their kudos, fair enough. But if that
yeah,
helps the earth, then so be it.
I think people need to be realistic in targets because we've reached a stage in our personal evolution where plastic is essential. Um, Not for everything, not like micro beads and earbuds and stuff like that, but plastic is still an integral part of our lives. Um, so, I know people spout off and they want all all plastics removed, but I don't think that that's a feasible ambition. I don't think that's a feasible aim.
No, I think getting rid of single-use plastic is a good idea. There was a huge uproar when in the UK they decided to um, charge people for using plastic bags in supermarkets. I think it's 5p per bag. I think it's 10p now. But actually, the amount of plastic bags that were found in the street has reduced dramatically as a result. And
Yeah,
that can only be a good thing because you'll think twice about getting something if it's not readily available to you. Um, I'm all for it. I'm absolutely all for it.
yeah,
Yeah, so I think overall, look, the ocean cleanup, you can find it online, theoceancleanup.com. You can help help Boyan fund the cleanup by donating some money. You can join the team if you've got any special skills. I think it's a hugely noble cause,
yeah.
which obviously someone like Donald Trump doesn't believe in. Uh,
Fake news, fake news.
well, it probably is, isn't it? Probably is.
Yeah,
But they're looking to, the basically what they're trying to do is they're going to collect all this plastic and turn it into things like sunglasses, looking to turn it into sports bottles, that kind of stuff. So, although you're right in the sense that they're just recycling it into more potential rubbish,
hmm,
I think the end result will actually see that there'll be less plastic in the oceans because they might release them in markets which have specific controls on dumping rubbish into the oceans and rivers.
yeah,
So a lot of the plastic will be cleaned up, hopefully, in the next 10 to 20 years by this guy who is huge. I mean, 23 years of age. What were you doing at 23 years of age? I'll tell you what I was doing. I was hitting on girls and bloody working and drinking and not doing world saving stuff. So
I
kudos
was
to Boyan.
I was waiting for you to come home because we were living in halls. I was waiting for you to come back, wasn't I? Oh no, I was living in
At
Cornwall.
at 23 years of age.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When
I
did
was
you
living in
graduate, mate?
well yesterday. Same day I was born, apparently. Um, I was in Cornwall, um, living the high life, surfing, being an eco warrior, studying marine conservation.
What are your thoughts on general pollution and eco warriorism and people that don't believe in climate change and you know
Uh,
famously Trump said we need to bring coal back.
I mean, Trump, as far as the environment is concerned and as far as science is concerned, he's a fucking moron. So, not worried about what he's saying. I'm worried about it because it gets through to the uneducated and the ignorant. We you know we're rehashing a little bit about what we've gone over before. My thoughts are, if you can't believe in science, and science is wrong sometimes, fine, but I mean there is definitive proof in this sort of science. You know what I mean? There's a cause and there's a causality,
Mm.
and there's a result. I mean, it's fucking cut and dry. If you don't believe in it, then I'm not sure you belong in the gene pool, really,
Mm.
because you're a fucking moron.
Well, I think there's definitely links with in places like China, in Zhejiang province in China, where they've uh, been polluting a lot into the air because of industrial progress there and industrial activity. Sorry, and there's been a lot of kids born with respiratory diseases.
Yeah.
Now you can't say that that is. I mean, you know, pollution denialists can't possibly say that that is nothing to do with pollution.
I mean, it's like saying that the like acid rain. It's like saying, oh, that power plant that's putting out acrid smoke has nothing to do with acid rain. All right, natural then, is it?
Yeah.
Natural sulfuric acid raining down. Yeah, no, it happens all the time. Only when volcanoes erupt. Sure.
I mean, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but in Kazakhstan, there's an area where there's a lot of smelting plants for copper and steel, um, and it snowed black snow
Wow.
this winter. There's footage of just towns and cities covered in black snow. Now, if that doesn't make you think that something's wrong, I'm not sure what will.
That would make me think that something's wrong for sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, the World Health Organization is saying that outdoor air pollution, largely from vehicle and industry, causes 4.5 million deaths a year. 4.5 million deaths a year is a lot of people
It is an awful lot of people.
dying
Um,
because of air pollution, and that's just one. That's not even nothing to do with toxic waters and soils, and
yeah,
it's crazy, absolutely
yeah.
crazy.
I think on that topic as well, when you have toxins going into the ocean in vast amounts, um, you get biomagnification. Do you know what biomagnification is and bioaccumulation?
No, no, go ahead.
So, I mean, if you think of a basic food web, so you have, filter feeder like zooplankton. Um, they eat lots and they filter the water, so they eat small amounts of the toxin. Not really harmful if you eat one, but if you're something that eats a shitload of them, then do you know what I mean? Then if you're a I don't know, a mackerel, and you filter out the zooplankton, then the amount of zooplankton you're eating, you increase the amount of toxins in your soft tissues and your blood and your body. And if you're something that eats a lot of mackerel, and do you see what I mean? So the accumulation and the biomagnification is going up and up and up. So ultimately, if you're a predator and you eat 20 fish a day, you're probably going to last about 3 years max, because the amount of toxins that you've accumulated in your body, you're knackered. Or at the very best outcome is that you're giving birth to extremely deformed young, and you're fucking the gene pool, literally.
Mm.
Um, and that can be applied to humans because we eat fish. Do you know what I mean? We are pillaging the ocean, and some communities only eat fish. And it's a bio. We are not immune to the issues here. People seem to think that we have some sort of elevated status, and we've only got that because we can talk to each other and build stuff. Um, you're not immune to the effects of the environment. We all live on the same planet, and if you fuck something up, one way or another, it's going to come back to you. I don't know why we isolate ourselves and we seem to think, oh no, we could survive everything. If a meteor hits tomorrow, it's not just going to wipe us out, or similarly, it's not only going to wipe out squirrels, it's going to wipe out fucking everything. Do you know what I mean? Apart from the lucky cunts who are in their bunkers.
I'm not sure even that would help if it's strong enough.
Well, exactly. At the very best, they're going to wake up to a nuclear winter of 1,000 years. So enjoy.
I mean, I know that people are saying that a lot of global warming and climate change facts are made up, and that it's just scientists wanting funding. And I'm sure there are a few scientists that, again, it's coming back to that adage of a few bad apples spoil the what is it? A few rotten apples spoil the.
Cider,
No, that's how you make cider.
applesauce.
Yeah, sure, why not? Uh,
Let's go with that
but
one.
a few scientists using climate change as a reason to get more money doesn't mean that it's not real. Um, I'm just on the NASA's global climate change website,
Hmm.
climate.nasa.gov, and I'm looking at some of the effects that they predict global warming will have, or climate change will have on the Earth. So one of the things that they say that temperatures will continue to rise,
Right.
and um, if you look at data, there's definitely natural climate change. It's cyclical, right? So there's definitely reasons and definitely situations in time before where there's been climate change into we've had the ice age and we've had the opposite, the heat age. But my question is, how much do the humans affect and or accelerate that climate change? Right. So temperatures will continue to rise. We have seen temperatures rise.
Hmm.
I think it's difficult to say whether that's man caused or just natural progression of climate. Frost-free season will lengthen, obviously, as a result, because if there's more heat in the atmosphere, um, just globally, if it's warmer, that means that there'll be less frost, and there'll be fewer colder months in the year. They might be more intense though. Um, but again, this is an issue because then you get over farming, and any farmer will tell you that if you plow and if you sow the same field too many times, the ground runs out of nutrients, and then you stop producing any um, uh, what's it called? Any I know how to say it in Russian, урожай. Any harvest. There we go. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Thought
obviously,
I'd let you get there by yourself, mate.
yeah, sure. More winter and spring precipitation is projected over this century, which is what we're seeing. Way more monsoons, way more floods caused by rain, more droughts and heat waves. Again, we're seeing that. I mean, what city hasn't gone through a bloody fire as a result of dry vegetation?
Hmm. Big ones in California and Greece.
Yeah. Category 4 and 5 hurricanes will be more frequent, and Category 4 and 5 are the most devastating ones.
What scares me is um, how bad does it need to get before people get the message?
I think very bad.
I mean, that's fucking scary because that shows you how unbelievably ignorant and arrogant people genuinely are. Do you know what I mean? People, they either hide behind not being educated, and I don't understand why, if you aren't educated, why does that mean that you don't care?
Well, I think it goes hand in hand because you don't understand the effects and the magnitude of
The,
the effects. Then
the ramifications,
yeah,
yeah. I
then you don't
mean,
really understand why.
but if,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I'm saying this because I'm reasonably educated, but if I happened to turn the news on, or if I was on the internet and I saw a load of big words and I didn't know exactly what they meant, I'd probably research it. But I mean, if I saw on the news um, something drastic like biggest fires in 10 years, and because of global warming, I would think, oh fuck me, what's this global warming all about then? And then, do you know what I mean? I wouldn't just go, it's nothing to do with me, because I mean, there's one word in there that would confirm that I need to worry, and that is global.
I think partly the issue is that a lot of people poo-poo it.
How can you fucking poo-poo it?
Well, you know,
Even the media, who love to misconstrue and confuse issues, they're all. I don't know if I've seen a single newscaster say, "Oh, it's all this so-called global warming."
I
No
th-
one's denying that it exists,
no,
apart from possibly Fox News.
well, I think you have an issue there. I think there's a lot of, especially in the states and well, a lot of the Western world are seeing a lot of people being vocal about how it's fake and how it's not a real thing and how it's natural, and we're just stuck in a cycle where it's where the climate is changing and that this is all normal. This is all part of the everyday world.
It's just frightening. It's frightening to me that it's become the norm. Um, I don't know why. Why is it allowed to get to that stage?
I think a lot of the time it's allowed to get to that stage because I think it's just how can I say? I think it's mostly because people want a simple answer. If it is a big problem, climate change, then obviously the solutions are quite drastic, i.e., stop all productions. Let's rethink how we produce plastics, how we produce energy, how we produce clothes, how we produce materials for cars and airplanes. How do we get to places without burning fossil fuel? And I think that's what people are worried about. People are worried that actually, well, look at America. Their president gave the thing of, we're going to pull out of the climate accord because it stops the US from from increasing their wealth, right? If we have to keep a track on, and if we have to pay fines, and if we have to make sure that we don't produce so many noxious gases a year, then that pulls us back from producing more energy, from producing more things to buy or things to sell. So I think a lot of people find it difficult to believe because it will affect their life drastically. Things will become way more expensive. Things will become much more difficult to get. And I think this is the big issue. I think people are just not looking to take responsibility for something that they think they're not part of. But every time they buy anything, it's produced with fossil fuels.
So ultimately, what you're saying is that our lifestyle and how it is more important, and how much it costs us and how easy it is more important than preserving the planet. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. I think
but why are people so short-sighted? Because what about people who have children? What about people who want their, what about someone who's literally about to have a child or thinking about having a child?
but it's not them. It's not them. I think people are predominantly selfish human beings.
No, but it is them, because these people, they build these empires. The moguls and the oligarchs who have the market on the fossil fuels, and the companies that rely on them. They have big families, and they want their family to be provided for, and they want their line to continue. But sure, I mean, where's the future in it? Because if you can't see that your business is destroying everything and killing everything, then you shouldn't be running a fucking business, because you're just stupid. Oh no, we don't want to. We don't want to find ways to extend the life of the planet, because the way that we live now is too lucrative. But the way that you live now is not sustainable, so it's only lucrative for 10 years or 20 years, not a lifetime, and not your children's lifetime. So what's the fucking point?
Well, I think I'm going to play devil's advocate here because I believe in what you're saying and I agree with it. but I think a lot of people think it's not my issue. I'm going to make as much money as I can as Shell, burning loads of fossil fuels and extracting loads of fossil fuels from the ground because I'm going to get rich out of it. And my children are going to get rich out of it. And okay,
But
fine.
then,
There's a global
but then,
shortage of oxygen. We'll buy oxygen. Fine. They sell oxygen in China. Instead of fucking cleaning up their air, a Canadian company is selling pure oxygen into China for consumers to buy and use at home. Right?
well, it's
Um,
fucking mental.
yeah, yeah, it is. It is. Secondly, what about water? Well, we'll buy water. Fuck it. We'll just buy it. We'll buy bottled water for the rest of our lives. We'll install loads of filters. And this is the issue. They're thinking about themselves. They're being selfish in the sense, well, I don't care if he can't afford it. I can. So what's the point? And we're all, to some extent, guilty of being selfish because if something benefits me, I'm not going to stop doing it just because it doesn't benefit you. But the issue is that this is something that will hurt 95% of the population, which includes us, and the 5% of the population that can afford to build a house in a forest
Right.
to get the benefit of clean air, or can afford to live only off bottled water, mineral water.
So, could you argue then that this is a new type of evolution? So, instead of biology running evolution, now it's the bank. Now it's how much digits you've got in the bank.
Well,
How
yeah,
many?
but I think it.
Well, no, but I mean, because you could be the smartest man, but if you haven't got the money to buy the water and buy the oxygen, then you're going to die. And if it's the 95% who can't afford it, is is that a way out? Is that good? Because if 95% of the people die, emissions are going to go down, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, you could say that it's a way of population control, possibly. Um,
That's a scary thought.
yeah, it is. It is. I think you're right. I think it's a lot of the time what you have is. I think you're right. I think it is selective breeding, and you see these people who are rich marrying other rich people, and
Yeah,
therefore that 5% is never replenished. Really, it's
yeah,
never
yeah,
expanded. So you've got the other 95% who won't be able to afford to live off bottled water and
yeah.
uh,
Or be affected by
exactly,
rising sea temperatures and rising sea
exactly,
levels. Because
exactly.
if the coast is going to get flooded, we're going to live in the mountains.
Mm,
Fuck it. Oh, the climate's changing here. Okay, we'll go somewhere else.
exactly.
We can afford it.
Exactly. So yes, it is affecting our gene pool and evolution because then you have people from the live island being able to afford to do this stuff,
Yeah.
and scientists not being able to afford this.
I mean, well, maybe a handful of scientists, maybe a very small percentage, but if the people from Love Island doing it, you might as well just take a fucking bunch of Neanderthals. So,
Yeah, but again, a lot of people poo-poo them and Donald Trump. Although I don't agree with what they do, I can see objectively why they do it. They're willing to put themselves onto a show which makes them look like idiots and people think they're so plastic, but they're making a shitload of money.
yeah,
There was a I don't know how real this statistic is, but they were saying that you're 5 times more likely to be successful by being on Love Island than by having a first class honors degree from a leading university.
I mean that's just madness.
Successful in
That's,
in monetary
but the
terms.
but the thing is, the thing that irks me about all of this is they wouldn't be famous if it wasn't for the fucking morons watching it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you do here? Because that's a bit of a catch-22, isn't it? Educate people and make them not want to watch fucking garbage like Love Island, and all of a sudden those fucking cunts aren't. They're not successful as someone who's put in the hard work in at Cambridge for 5 years and getting a first class honours degree.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look,
You know what I mean? Where's the sense in that? Do you know what I mean? How is that in a normal society? Why is that okay that someone wants to go and study biomechanics and they give up any sort of monetary ambition that they might have, any claim to fame, to go and pursue a science that's going to benefit the future of humanity, they're earning less than some fucking prick going, "Now I want that one" on Love Island.
Well,
Why is that okay? What does that say about society?
I think it says a lot of things, doesn't it? I think it says that.
I think the only thing it says is that we're fucking retards.
Uh, I wouldn't say in those terms, but I would say it says that we are.
That's not disparaging against the differently abled, by the way.
I think it says that we are way more consumed with consumerism than we choose to admit. I know plenty of educated people who watch Love Island, and
Yeah, but
obviously,
why do they watch it? Do they watch it just to zone out?
but it
Because
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter why they watch. They still watch it, which means Love Island as a show is getting loads of money from advertisers, which means that they can pay these people more and more. And the more
okay,
people watch it, the more they can pay them, and the more they get rich. You know, it doesn't really matter why you watch it, whether it's
you're educated.
sure,
Do you watch it?
no.
Why?
I don't watch any television. I've got a. Don't get me wrong. I watch trashy television. You know, I watch things like Suits, and I watch things like.
I don't even know what the fuck Suits is.
the-
Go on. All that says to me is that you sit in your bedroom with your wardrobe door open and watch your Suits.
Possibly, but you know, I watch TV shows,
Yeah,
American drama shows and comedy shows. Um, but the reason why I swore off television, not swore off, but the reason why I just choose not to watch it, is because a lot of the time I'm paying for something that I don't need or want to watch,
yeah,
and B, I I want to choose what I want to watch, and I want it
yeah,
to be either meaningful or not meaningful as and when I need to. I watch the news, so I've got a Apple TV console, so I
yeah.
stream the news onto the television every morning and every evening. I read the news, and that's pretty much all I watch from terrestrial television. I don't watch Love Island or X on the Beach or whatever that is, whatever other programs there are. No, actually, no. The one thing I'm guilty of is watching the Great British Bake Off, and that's on catch up, ITV catch up.
Um, yeah. I don't watch that.
But I think look, I think a lot of people watch things and they
I think if you're going to watch something that interests you, so the Great British Bake Off, if you bake cakes,
I don't.
you want to watch. No, but if you bake cakes or if you eat cakes, which I know you fucking do, um, then that's a pastime of yours, and you're going to enjoy it, and you could get inspiration from it. Who's watching? I don't know, Catfish or Love Island or anything like that, and getting inspiration from it. You know, being like, oh, this is really gonna, really gonna, you know, make me feel better, and I'm gonna go to work tomorrow with a new idea, or I'm gonna be inspired to do something. The only thing you're doing if you're watching Love Island is you're going to aspire to be a cheap sellout.
Well, put it this way. Um,
It's like Big Brother with that bird shoving a bottle of wine up a fanny.
well, this is it. Big Brother, when it first started, was a very it was developed by either a psychologist or psychiatrist as a way to study people in their everyday life with cameras on them.
Yeah.
Same with what was the other show that you named instead of Big Brother? Um,
Um,
anyway, a lot of
I'm
these.
a celebrity.
Pardon?
I'm a celebrity.
No. That's just idiotic. These like a lot of these shows have started off with well, like Catfish. That's the one you mentioned.
Oh right, yeah,
Catfish started off by catching a woman who was trying to develop an online relationship with a guy by sending him fake photos, fake clips, video clips, and pretend to be someone else. So
hmm
what they were doing is they were giving people an actual education by saying don't believe everything that people say online, be wary of things, you know, and with Big Brother, it was people do the craziest shit to get famous, um, and they were making a mockery of them. But the issue is, at some point, they turned to commercial companies who
Yeah,
wanted to exploit it because a lot of people started watching it. A lot of people watched Big Brother because it was something new, it was never done before. 24-hour day, 24-hour surveillance of people living a life. Now, at first, these were genuine people who were a bit crazy, a bit kooky, who wanted to show the world what they're made of. Now they
yeah,
choose specifically people who are fucking unhinged to go on these shows.
yeah. They manipulate the situation.
Exactly. So whereas previously it was people who were perhaps a bit too bold in character who went on it, now these are being sought specifically for that purpose to create what they call good television.
Tension.
Yeah, exactly. Or a Nazi and a Jewish woman. They're willing to do such shocking things to provide entertainment, and because people watch it and in big numbers, people get money out of it. There was some
Yeah,
crazy statistics that more people voted in the X Factor competition than they did for the elections. I mean, that's mental, isn't it?
it's fucking crazy.
Something that will
The
not
thing,
affect your life at all is more important to people than something that will definitely affect their life.
yeah, and I think the thing that really confuses me is people want to watch these real life things like Big Brother. Oh, let's see how people interact. Well, turn the TV off and watch your fucking family because what's the difference?
Well, you can't
Well,
laugh.
okay, the difference is that your daughter's not going to shove a bottle of wine up her vagina at the dinner table,
Yeah,
and
but there's also you separate yourself from reality, don't you? Because you laugh at these people, and you turn around and you think, well, my none of my friends would do that, so this is great television.
I mean, I understand your point, but I
It's
don't get
sad.
it.
It's sad. No, it's sad, but people do watch it. It's like what's that dating show with Paddy McGuinness? Not Paddy McGuinness. Um,
No, it is.
is it Paddy McGuinness?
Yeah, it's Take Me Out,
Yeah. So Take Me Out's a show in the UK where there's 25 women,
something like that.
and this one guy comes down a lift and he goes out and he basically says, "Here's what I do. Here's my hobbies." His friends rip on
And,
him,
and people judge him.
and women press a button to either date him or not date him.
Yeah,
Now, if
it's
there was
very shallow.
now a lot of women say that this is empowering women to make a choice, but at the end of the day, the man chooses the woman.
Yeah,
So I don't know what empowerment they're talking about because it's all bullshit. Um, so I think overall, look, our society has grown to with television, just like with the internet and the radio. I think it was designed and created for noble reasons, and it was exploited, much like religion was, by individuals and corporations.
yeah.
Does Robin watch those shows?
She not no, she doesn't watch the dating shows or anything, but she does watch.
Love Island.
No, she doesn't watch Love Island. I would. I've banned that from my house. But she does watch soaps. So she'll
Oh
watch
right. Well,
Coronation. She watches Coronation Street and Hollyoaks, and
oh, she's northern though, isn't she?
yeah, she is Northern. But I mean, for me, I just have to walk out the room, or I have to put my headphones in and read something because I fucking hate it. Do you know what I mean? Soap operas to me, they're just full of drama and melodrama at that. It's very depressing. I don't know if it's designed to make your life seem better, but I mean, to me, it's just depressing. I watch it and I see all these people. Oh no, he's got to be nicked again. Oh no, so and so's had an affair with so and so. But why? Why have you done this to me? Oh, fuck off. Who's the scriptwriter for this? Because, field over there. Go and jump in it. Do you know what I mean? Just stop with the boring. It does my head in. I don't understand why people. I don't know. Maybe I'm just. I don't know if I'm a pessimist or something, but I don't. I can't watch it because it just depresses me. You
I,
know, I think there's enough strife in life, and there's enough of a struggle every day just to put food on the table to watch the make believe of these oh, just so much bullshit. Do you know what I mean?
mm. What do you think about the effect it has on children?
Um, I know it normalizes things for kids, doesn't it? Um, you know, on a typical day with a soap opera, and there's always drama. There's always someone
Yeah,
moaning about something. There's always something going on. Someone's in trouble with the police, and people are arguing. And I think it makes it seem like that's a normal life. Do you know what I mean? I mean, when I was growing up, there was hardly any arguing in my household.
but what about things like Love Island and
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes it makes people's decision making terrible, and I think it makes people alter their representation. Do you know what I mean? It makes people alter who they actually are. Oh, I should put these fucking great big eyelashes on and be a pretentious little cunt who doesn't actually like people for who they are, but how much money they earn or what they look like. It makes people shallow. In my view, I don't know. I'm just being blunt and honest.
yeah,
In my opinion, I think it makes people shallow,
yeah. I
or
mean,
potentially makes people shallow.
but do you think that children are especially susceptible to it since
Of course, our children are the most susceptible of all people with something that's going to influence them. You know, kids are born to replicate what they see. If you're brought into a household where violence is normal, chances are that kid's going to be violent because it's normal to them. It's how life is.
yeah, yeah,
What's and it's no different to what's going on TV. And it's really sad now because you see, I went to Greece last week or week before, and all in the restaurants and stuff. You know, people were just shoving tablets into their kids' faces,
so what's
tablets and phones,
what,
and you're
what
like, what?
yeah, what's your view on kids and technology? Because
I think
okay, when did you get your first phone, mobile phone?
I think I was probably about 14 or 15.
Hmm.
I
and
think
and your television time, I assume, was controlled.
my TV time wasn't controlled, and I was allowed to watch films and play my PlayStation or whatever in my bedroom. I mean, my mum would come in and say, I think you spent long enough on that now, Tom. But to be fair, I didn't really spend that much time on it because when I was between 15 and 20, all I did was go out skating.
Yeah,
And if I couldn't skate, then all I did was go out and play basketball or football.
yeah, you did.
So I I did play the Xbox and I did play the PlayStation, but not to the lengths where I was fucking getting epilepsy like the kids are now.
Yeah.
You know
Uh,
what I mean?
uh,
I got a family member who's got a son, and I can guarantee that during half term, I could put my Xbox on any time of the day. He'll fucking be on it. Glorious sunshine outside. Do you know what I mean? Beautiful day, and you're like that. You're on the Xbox though. It's not real life. You realise this, don't you? Like, one day you're going to have to adult. It's an addiction.
it is. It is. But see, my dilemma with this, with especially with things like technologies, at what age what age is appropriate to introduce your kids to technology? Because actually, you can't suppress it from them because it's such a huge part of our life, and it will become
Yeah,
a bigger part of their life. Um, I didn't get a phone till I was about 12, maybe
right.
13. and it was a massive phone. Obviously, it was limited because of the times, but
Yeah.
now an average phone is an iPhone or a smartphone.
The average phone is capable of more than the best computers when we were young.
Which I think is good. But I do think that sometimes maybe what companies should do is allow people to companies should allow people to choose what apps they can open, which I think they do already. So you can basically disable everything apart from the call and the text app,
Yeah.
and then you don't
I
need to have kids.
I think apps should have timers on them as well. So,
Yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean, if you put something into child mode and they want to watch YouTube, it should be limited to like 30 minutes.
Well,
And then it should have a timeout clause. You literally can't go back on it until an hour's passed.
interesting you say that because digital health is such a huge thing at the moment with Facebook and Apple
Yeah,
and Google. So Apple have I know Apple best because that's what I use an iPhone, so I know that most intimately. So they've developed their latest software, latest software um, sh- restricts you or allows you to put on timers on apps,
right.
and it tells you, and you can program your phone to switch off all of its minor capabilities. So not minor, but other capabilities such as games and other apps, and just leave your phone in text. And it will also allow you to see what your child or your person spends most of their time on, which apps and what do they do, which I think is the right way to go.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. We can open a whole can of worms here. Um, are we experts in the field? No. Would we like to hear from one? Yes. Fabio.
How, how can they reach us?
I think
How can Fabio reach us?
so.
Because I really
Fab.
would like to have Fabio on board.
Well, if it is him, if it is the legit man,
Head of AI, isn't he, for Microsoft?
something like that, he's a successful human being. If it is him, but he can hit us up on Twitter. He already follows us, so he knows the score. Fairly sure he knows his way around a computer, so he knows what to do without being prompted. But as for the rest of you who still seem incapable, what you can do is you found your way to YouTube. That's very good. If you have a little look at the video, the box below, so a comment or a like, just tap it and follow the on-screen commands. Email us yarnspinnerspodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up on Twitter @yarnspinners1, Facebook @yarnspinners1. Yeah, send us some love.
And what we're looking into, guys, is also possibly videoing the chats.
Yeah,
So you'll get the YouTube videos instead of just audios. And also, we've just registered with Apple Podcasts.
yeah, well, that's in the pipeline.
So
So
hopefully you'll be able to hear us a bit more. But watch the space if you do enjoy, and also reach out to us because we'd like to hear from you. We'd like to, do a podcast with you.
yeah,
Obviously, as you see, we talk about a lot of things, but we
maybe
would
there's
love to
some
talk
subject
about.
matter out there that we
We just haven't
can
covered.
think of. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly, and we will have our own friends and colleagues who will be coming onto the show to talk about everyday things and things that they're interested in or specialists in. So it will be exciting. It'll be great. I'm looking forward to it, Tommy.
absolutely. But
Yeah.
for now, for the time being, I think we've reached a nice natural conclusion here. So it's goodbye from me.
Yeah, and hello from me, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome. Yeah, goodbye from both of us. I'm gonna play us out. Um, actually, am I? Yeah, I will do. Why not? One sec. Peace.
Peace.